too often we're looking at something and specifically with ourselves, trying to seek perfection. We look in the mirror and you go, ugh, I just look unhealthy. I look exhausted. Oh my God, are those bags under my eyes? What is it? Is this 12 chins? How many chins am I going to put into this? Right? We go to these really critical places because we're looking for something that's perfect. And based on what standard? Aloha, everybody. Welcome to another episode, yes, of Alive with Purpose. Grateful, so grateful to have you here. So grateful. And I got to start with this subject because it's something that I went through this week a little bit, struggled with a little bit, and kind of did some homework on it. And it's something I think we all kind of struggle with at some point, if not even today, perhaps. And it is perfection. The idea of wanting to be perfect. It doesn't go away. But if we understand that inner desire, that inner critic to want to be perfect, then we can slowly let it slip away. And that's what I want to share with you today. So thank you for being here. The audio might be a little cattywampus because I was like, I got to get this out. I gotta share this because it's something that I've been working with certainly in the past week and even throughout areas of my life. And I didn't really notice that because I just felt like I was trying to strive for excellence, right? So how do we make that distinction between perfection and striving for excellence and high performance? Like, I'm all about it. Let's go for it. This is why I do the coaching. This is why even when I talk with people or even any of the sports that I've been a captain of or a leader of, or any teams or communities or productions, we're trying to get the best out of everybody, out of ourselves, the crew, the editing, the final product, each performance. But the one thing we're not trying to do is be perfect. And where does that come from? The first thing that we have to identify is one of the things that I kind of was like, well, what is this thing? This idea of perfection. It is, where do I get that from? And I got it confused with the idea of being excellent and giving your best effort. Huge difference. Because giving your best effort is a process. Perfection is a result. And that is one of the things that I want to really start with, making that distinction of one is result-based, one is a process. The process of giving your best, of trying to be excellent. The progress of it, not the end result. And so often, that is one of the biggest obstacles we encounter, is we got to get it right. It's got to be perfect. Or why do it? It's not perfect. Why do it? And we never get started. That's the biggest problem, is we're always waiting for it to be perfect. Or, how many of you out there have worked on a project or have a dream or a vision in your head right now? That you have something that you've thought about for 5 years or maybe your whole life or maybe the last 5 months or I don't know how long for you, but it just hasn't happened yet. We get impatient. Why am I so impatient with this? Well, it's not right. It's not the way I want it. And if we approach it from that perspective, we will be chasing our tail forever and never get anything off the ground. We'll never do anything that's valuable to us if we're waiting for that perfect time, for that perfect moment to have that perfect conversation. And let me just ask you this right now. Think about this for a second. What do you know? What in your life that you've seen or have experienced that is absolutely perfect? What? Anything? Because nothing that I've ever encountered, and I've been on this planet for 1,000 years, is perfect. Nothing. But yet somehow we aspire for this idea of perfection. But nothing. Look around you right now. Coffee cup right here. I have tea on it. It's the handle's got this like bubble in it when it was baked or whatever happened. And yeah, there's this like chip in the bottom for me, probably just sitting on stone or wherever I'm going. Not perfect, but it's amazing. It works for me. And I appreciate it for what it is. And that is the other sort of anecdote for perfection, for combating perfection, is appreciation for what is, not what isn't. Too often, we're looking at something and specifically with ourselves, trying to seek perfection. We look in the mirror and you go, ugh, I just look unhealthy. I look exhausted. Oh my God, are those bags under my eyes? What is it? Is this 12 chins? How many chins am I going to put into this? Right? We go to these really critical places because we're looking for something that's perfect. And based on what standard? Nobody is perfect. Nobody, nothing. But yet we have this inner voice, this inner critic that says we have to be. And the first thing, one of the things we have to do is, and I say this first thing because we have to become self-aware of that critic, that inner critic, and go, I hear you. We're not having this conversation anymore. I hear you. And you make me feel like crap. And that's not how I want to feel. So I'm going to choose a different thought, a different process in the way I look at myself, in the way I look at this project, this pitch, this conversation I want to have about this relationship that I want to be perfect, which again does not exist, right? It just doesn't. And it isn't even healthy. I mean, who could live up to absolute perfection where nothing in your relationship goes wrong or nothing in your life goes wrong? Because again, that's a fallacy. We can't live in perfect harmony throughout our lives. And just think about that. So, if everything is just like uniformly perfect, it's a straight line. If there's highs and lows and ups and downs, it's like your heartbeat. Flat line, we're dead. Nothing's happening. If there's highs and lows, our heart is alive. We're alive. And we don't need to seek this thing that isn't even realistic. There's moments that we feel are perfectly beautiful. I don't want to discount that. There's a sense of living in awe. And I talk about that all the time, this state of being in awe, which is full of gratitude, full of something that could be scary, but it could be exciting. But it is in this present moment, not something that doesn't exist. And the more we can get into the habit of appreciating the moment we're in, rather than listening to that inner critic and go, wait. And by the way, recognize where that noise comes from. Recognize who said that you aren't enough. Who said you need to be making this amount of money to actually be worthy of something? Who says that? Was it a teacher? Was it a playground bully? Was it a parent? Where does that come from? Really get to the root of that so you can recognize that's not even your own voice. That's something you'd heard from somebody else that you carry into this very moment. That idea of what you should be or what you're not. And everybody puts us these labels on it, right? That's my perfect child, and this is my troubled child, right? If you're into that family dynamic, oh, that's my troublemaker. Oh, here's my little rebel. That's my overachiever. And we get stuck with these labels our whole life. And we just are battling and battling and battling to try to get out. So that identity of, what perfection is, it has to be altered in the way we see it as a process. You see it as a process, see it as something of being present, right? If you're looking at something and being completely present with yourself, there's no perfection. It is what it is. It just is. Does that make sense? That's why I constantly talk about the habit of being present and being mindful of the moment. Don't judge the moment. Appreciate it. Just appreciate it in all of its beautiful imperfection, because things will not go perfectly. And the reason I was telling you earlier that this was something that I was working with this week, because I was filming last week, and that first day on the set, everybody wants to get it perfect, and certainly for a newcomer coming into a set, everybody's been there. This show's been running for 7 years, with Chicago Med, and talented, wonderful people on the show, and you want to show up and you want to deliver, right? You want to be your best, but you want to also get it right, which it can be the death of every creative person. And I'm talking to those who are creatives out there. You might be artist, writer, poet, musician, whatever. This certainly will apply to you. Do not worry about getting it right. Don't. It can be the death of your creative process. But as I speak to everybody, we're all creatives. We're all creating something. You may be an accountant, but you're creating something, right? Something. You don't have to be an architect or something that we just generalize as a creative profession, right? Because we're all creative in our own way. So if we're going to create the experiences that make us feel alive, that make us feel happy, whatever that means to you, joyful, or if we're looking for it, we're like, no, I want to feel perfect. There is your red flag right then and there. Right then and there. So I'll go back to the set. I wanted to make an impression the first day. You want to know the director. The crew wants to know, is this kid prepared? Is he ready? Right? Now I'm already in the heads of everybody else trying to go, well, what do they think of my performance? What do they think of me as an actor? Are they going to respect my work? Am I going to get it right? Am I going to get my, words right? All of these things. And I knew this happens, when you get on a new show or anywhere you go, everybody's trying to get it right. And they're trying to put their thumbprint in this moment so we can make the best, product as we can. Excellence. Who would aspire for excellence? But I knew I was trying to get it right. I was trying to get it perfect. And the first take, when things came out, didn't come out right. Certainly didn't come out perfect. And I can tell you now, didn't worry about it. I kept going. And I knew why. Because I knew things didn't come out the way I expected, the way that I wanted, the way that I felt, the way I rehearsed it, the way I practiced it. Right? Happens all the time. But I've adopted this mindset, if you will, or this behavior pattern to not judge the moment. And I kept going. And nobody, director didn't say cut. I'm one of these artists who are like, I'm going to go until someone says cut. That's just sort of my way of just letting it all come out. But the idea being that I was aware of why it wasn't perfect, because I was trying too hard to get it right, to make it perfect, to make it work. And it got in my way. We do this every day. And I want you to become aware of those things in your life that you were just trying to get it right. You're trying to get it perfect. And just stop yourself in that moment and go, no, it doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be truthful. That certainly is for all my creative people out there and all my artists. Be truthful to you. And that will translate in every area of your life. And again, you don't have to be in the artistic profession. Just be truthful in your conversations. The conversation, like your day, will not go as planned. It won't be perfect. But how you respond to it, will you keep going? Or will you beat yourself up and stop? So the habit of me not being perfect, but yet continuing to go and stay in flow of my life and the rhythm of what's happening is what I've practiced throughout my life. And my need not to actually please anybody. Yeah, do I want to bring exceptional work to whatever I'm doing and do my part the best I can? Yeah, that's it. That's all. That's all you really, really need to aim for. Just aim for. It doesn't have to be your target. You don't have to hit it. It doesn't have to be precision, because it doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be truthful to who you are. Because truth, let me just look up perfection a minute. I had it here on my computer. Give me 1 second. Yeah, so here it is. And just think about if this is you, or if you think and feel things this way. The perfection, the conditioned state or quality of being free or free as possible from flaws or defects. Another one is action or process of improving something until it's faultless. Faultless. That is absolute madness to keep seeking that. Now, again, people who achieve high levels of success, they're looking for excellence, not perfection. So I don't want you to confuse the two when I'm having this conversation, because I would 100% go for the performance. Go for that level of excellence. Don't judge it though. Just go for it. And now you're actually in the process. And yeah, measure your results by progress. That's fine. How am I progressing here? And was I present in this moment? Because ultimately you're creating an experience for yourself, right? And when things don't go right, if we have a pitch meeting and just went down the tubes, let's say it didn't happen, or you had a conversation with a child or a loved one that didn't go the way you wanted it and everything erupted and exploded, right? Go back and reflect on that. What were my expectations? Was I aiming for perfection? Did I want to get it right, or what was my intention? Back that process up for yourself. In anything that you're not getting started, or anything that didn't really go your way, that is painful or frustrating or aggravating, because you may have set yourself up for perfection when in fact you just needed to grow. That's it. You just needed to grow rather than seek this idea that doesn't exist. And look at it, and not just in your own home, but the things that you have in your life, and really go, is that the perfect pillow? Is that the perfect blanket? Is that the perfect lamp? Is that the perfect? No, these are material things. Think about the things that you see in your life, but look in nature. I look at trees all the time. Love them. I love them for their whimsical nature. I love that they twist and bend and turn. And I always kind of think to myself, because you'll see, trees grow up towards the sun, and right, you always see it striving in process to go up and grow like we as human beings. But you'll see it'll take certain bends and twists and turns and branches that broke, but yet it's still this beautiful, imperfect tree. And I asked myself, I wonder what happened during that year. Or maybe there was a storm that broke off a branch or that bent it and it went sideways. I literally saw a tree over the weekend. There was almost parallel to the ground. It was probably about 30 degrees off the ground. Either a windstorm, earthquake, something just rattled it. Almost nearly knocked it over. But what I also noticed, that there were 3 other tree trunks reaching vertically on top of the major trunk that was knocked over sideways. And that happens in our life. We will get knocked over sideways, but as long as we keep growing and trying to keep reach higher and aspire for something more within us, we're good. That's beautiful imperfection. And it simply is what it is, of somebody who's continuing to grow and thrive and seek something better than what we were currently experiencing. Not perfection. So remind yourself as you get into this habit of going, okay, look, am I seeking perfection or am I seeking progress? Am I being present or am I looking for something that isn't realistic? Because we want to get grounded and get realistic. And let me remind you, I'm a big dreamer, as many of you know, and I have huge aspirations. I don't want you to discount those. I love for you to have them. Those are the motors that keep us striving for more. And think about somebody who thinks they are perfect, or that they've got the perfect business or the perfect life. They think they've arrived. This is not a judgment, by the way. It's not a judgment conversation. It's an observation on what we could do in certain areas of our life where we think, it's perfect. I don't need to do anything more. My relationship's amazing. It's perfect. And you look back and you reflect a little bit, and your partner may not be feeling the same way that you perceive this relationship. And why does a relationship get stagnant? Well, when someone feels like they got it all figured out. Why does someone's career or their job get stagnant? Perfect. Everything goes fine. It's fine. I go to work, I come home, I get a paycheck, live a happy life. Right? Is it? Is there more you can strive for? Is there more you can aspire for? Right? It may be beautiful, maybe wonderful, but don't settle for perfection or what you perceive as perfection. It becomes a word that can take us down a rabbit hole and chasing our tail for so many years, or become so complacent that we're not aware of our innermost desires of really wanting more. And we're fearing taking the chance because, well, I want it to be perfect, so I don't want to do anything to screw this up. And we become absolutely paralyzed. And we become dissatisfied with the journey, with our life, with our career, with the relationship, with ourselves, because we just end up settling and we fear rocking the boat. I'm encouraging you in a healthy way, of course, to get out of your comfort zone and appreciate. This is the thing I want to leave you with 100%. Appreciate the imperfection. And don't see it as a flaw that tears you down. See it as a flaw that tells you something about yourself, about the scars and the wounds that you've earned on this amazing journey called your life. Scars and wounds that you've earned, and the different branches and the different directions that your life has taken because you were willing to take the risk and not try to be perfect. Because you're ultimately going for an experience. You want to explore your life. I see you hear me say this all the time. Explore. I don't know. I don't have the answer. I don't have the answer. But I'm going to explore it. I'm going to risk failing. I'm going to risk not being perfect. I'm going to go for it. And continuing that conversation with regard to doing multiple takes, because you do a million takes on different shows, depending on what they are, because we have different camera angles, that person's camera, this person's camera. From there on out, once I knew that, got clear on it, like, ooh, I knew I was trying to do that, so I didn't go as planned. Now I was in a creative mindset. I go, I don't know, let's create. I don't want it to be perfect. I want it to be truthful. So with a director, you're collaborating, or with an actor, gives a note, gave me a note. I was like, cool, let's try that. Let's go for that, right? He's like, all right, give it to him some more. I'm like, great, let's do that. And then I went for it. Didn't have to be perfect. Just had to be intentional. Just had to be truthful. I didn't care about the result. I appreciated it and enjoyed the process. Then I get another note. Ooh, yeah, you know what? Try it a little more understated, see what happens. Great, let's go for that. And you can do these things in life when you're not trying to be perfect. Let me be intentional. Let me go for this experience with this thought, with this feeling that I'm looking for, with this state of being that I want. Let's go for it. And I don't have to be perfect. As long as I'm truthful, I'm in it. As long as I'm present, I'm in it. Right? And then the director comes back again and says, you know what? Love it. Do one for yourself. Do one for you. This is my favorite thing to do, whether I'm working with an actor or I'm directing or I'm producing or for my own self when I'm working something out, right? And I'm trying to go for this with intention. I want this intention. And I encourage you to do this in your life. Do one for you. Do one take for you. In your room, alone, or if you're going to have that conversation, try to get as clear as you can on your intention, because of course that will be the most productive. If you're just going willy-nilly, is I'm going to just shout out random stuff that I feel it really doesn't land well and there's really no cohesiveness. Try to get some intention first and then don't worry about the result. And be true to that intention and give one take for yourself. That makes sense? I hope that makes sense. So when you're working out a problem or a challenge, or you haven't even started, or you're close to starting, but you just haven't had it perfect, or you've done 50,000 takes on a book that you're trying to write, or a pitch for your boss, whatever it is, do one for yourself with irreverence. Irreverence. I mean, like, I'm not talking about being disrespectful, but the idea of being irreverent without worrying about the result, without worrying about being perfect. And the beauty of doing one take for yourself, you're getting in touch with what's true to you. And that is the most consistent message that I hope I ever share with you, is being the most truthful to what's in your heart. Your heart. Nobody else's. Having that honest, one-on-one, heartfelt conversation, expression that lives within you. Give it and let it flow. Don't judge it. You can go back and reflect on it. Absolutely. I'm not saying don't pull back at one point and go, right, how did that work out? You know what? There was bits and pieces that I like. For example, let's say it's a conversation. You go, great, I got my intention. My intention is to build a healthier relationship, not tell them what's wrong with the other person, right? Or your boss, say it's a boss. My intention is to really see if I can get a promotion. Why? Because I feel like I'm worthy of it. I'm earning it here at this company. Why? Because I'm giving my best every morning I show up. Whew. That's an intention. I want someone to know I'm just giving my best. Not like I'm the perfect employee, right? So go there, have that intention, and speak from the heart. Not being perfect, but from the heart. And people admire and appreciate that. Now, even in this particular podcast, I didn't exactly know everything out, beat it out, what I would say, how it would go. But I can tell you from my heart, I really want you to be conscious of not being perfect, but being truthful to you and what's in your heart, and enjoy the process and do it from your heart for yourself. Because this is where we find true passion and where we start to find and discover our purpose. How we bring meaning into our lives. What are we doing here? What are we doing specifically in this conversation? You don't have to be on a set. You don't have to be writing a book. You don't have to necessarily even be having a conversation with a loved one yet, right? But what are you doing for you? What is your purpose? To share, to give. I say this, and I'll repeat it. Passion is for ourselves. Purpose is for others, so we share it. But as more we start to articulate that for ourselves and start to understand when we're trying to be perfect, we're trying to get it right, throw it out. No need ever to be perfect. Why? Because nothing on the planet is perfect. Nothing. Go for it from the heart, not willy-nilly, right? Be thoughtful about what you want to really, really give expression to. And there'll be no wrong answer. It may not be what someone wants to hear. You may not even get what you want. That's not the point. It's not about getting something. It's about being someone. It's not about getting something. It's about being someone. Someone who is truthful, who is authentic, who is real, who is beautifully imperfect. Beautifully imperfect. Thank you so much. I wanted to share that with you today. It's been something, again, I was struggling with. I knew I was trying to be perfect. I knew I had to back off and let it go and just be me, be intentional. So I thank you so much for listening, for tuning in, for being here. I am going to continue to put these out in a pace that continues to serve. So all the notes, all of the messages, all of the feedback that I've been getting, I want to tell you, it means the world to me, especially the ones that I hear about how it's making a difference in your life, and continue to do those things and to continue to create a life that makes you feel alive.